Hi, I'm Keenan and you're listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to a special edition of the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you have a comment, criticism, or question, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. These podcasts are dedicated to exhibitors who would have participated at the 2020 Montreal Comic Arts Festival. MCAF is a leading platform from the comic arts in Quebec and beyond to broaden public knowledge of and engagement with the comic arts, and to promote cultural exchanges and interactions between creators, readers, and the public at large. On this episode, I chat with Keenan. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Keenan is a multidisciplinary artist specializing in comic and children's book illustrations. All his books are self-published and often bound by himself. Keenan works full-time in the bookbinding trade at the Bookbinder's Daughter, a traditional bookbindery located in South Central Montreal that he took over this year. He's also the creator of the complete Squidgy Octology that was nominated for Best Self-Published Comic at the Joe Shuster Jean Day Award, as well as the winner of the Expozine's Best Comic Book Award in 2019. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Keenan. Keenan, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Hey, hi John. Thanks for having me.
Sure. What I normally do to start the interview is ask a creator about their first comic book. So I'm wondering if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
Yeah, okay. That's a tough question for sure. I mean, definitely when I was younger, I read Far Side, Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, stuff like that. When I was really young too, definitely was into this one comic called Dark Dominion. I think it was from Dark Horse Comics or something, or Defiance Comics. That one was really cool.
Okay.
It was like, and if not, I'd say Godzilla Comics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So,
you ever heard of Dark Dominion?
I've heard of that, vaguely in my memory. I couldn't place it for you, what it looks like, but it
very
does sound
symbolic
familiar.
of like society and stuff. You know, I didn't even know what I was reading, but it's good. Yeah.
Very good. So I'm wondering, who or what inspires you to create your art today?
I just really, really like drawing, and I like hands-on kind of stuff. So I like to, any kind of drawing from observation. I want to write stories. I'm also into bookbinding now because of writing comics brought me into bookbinding because I wanted to bind my comics together. You know, the stories are for sure. Want to tell stories about like things that no one have ever heard before. You know, I don't want to make like a story about like a ninja, a ninja who like kills people or stuff like that. I mean, I find there's a lot of superhero stuff. I'm not really into that. Superheroes, definitely more anti-hero stuff, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I like to. I guess I really like to write stuff about Montreal too. It seems. Because, like, Pro-Can is one of my series. It's about zombies taking over Montreal because of a street drug called Pro-Can. And then Squidgy is about a squeegeeing squid from a prehistoric undersea Montreal. So there's a lot of, like, landmarks of the town that I kind of grew up in, you could say, for sure, in there. Because I'm always here.
Right.
And, yeah.
Cool. So I'm talking to you and others under the context of the Montreal Comic Arts Festival that unfortunately didn't happen this year. So I was wondering, what were you planning to showcase at that particular event?
Well, what I wanted to showcase was the usual kind of stuff. I wanted to, because I also make multilingual children's books. I'm working on my fourth one. I've made, at least 17 different comics. And I make a couple of other things too. I make hand-bound books, so I wanted to show my comics, children's books, and like other oddities that I make, kind of thing. They're all like paper, book-related kind of thing. Yeah, I like going to those things to talk to people. I like meeting people who are into that and exchanging stuff and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I presume you've been to that event many times in the past?
Yeah, at least 3 years in a row, if not 4. At first, I didn't think I was like, I don't know, with like these festivals, because I did do Comic-Con. I'm not really into Comic-Con, I gotta say. And I kind of thought the Montreal Comic Arts Fest was like that, but then in the end, I found out that it wasn't, and I did it, and it's really cool. It's really actually about comics, because like Comic-Con, I went there 2 years in a row, and I mean, maybe it used to be, but now it doesn't seem to be about comics at all. Like, me and my friend, we had a table. It costs really a lot of money. We were like tucked in the back. People would come pass by. We'd be like, hey, come check our comics. And like, I mean, people were seriously like, oh, I don't read comics. Like, that was like the majority of the people would tell us that. And one guy even said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't read.
Wow.
I only read the newspaper, and even that is only the big headlines. And me and my friend were just like, okay, like, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
Montreal Comic Arts Fest is actually really cool.
Cool. Do you have any favorite memories that you can share with us about past events?
The Montreal Comic Arts Fest is, half the time it's on my birthday, because my birthday is May 28th. So I think the 2 first years it was like, you know, the Friday or the Saturday was my birthday. So after the Comics Fest, one of them I was turning 30, so I just did my like 30 party at the park like right after. So that was awesome. I also like the way that they have food and coffee and stuff for the exposants, we call them, like the people who show their stuff. Mm-hmm. And they also do like the comic prizes, and I every year I watch it. It's there. It's really cool. And they have like classes and stuff, like how to draw or stuff like that. I didn't do any, but I do like that they do that. And I gave a class once with them for bookbinding. It was cool.
That is cool. Now, you mentioned bookbinding a few times. Can you walk me through what is that exactly when it comes right down to it?
When it comes right down to it, bookbinding is like any kind of making of books at its base. But I work in bookbinding. I just took over the bookbindery where I worked with my neighbor Laura for the past 7 years. It's called La Fille du Relieur, the bookbinder's daughter. I'm going to change the name to the bookbinder of the Faubourg, which is the area in which I live in Montreal. Mm-hmm. And we basically make any kind of book, and we fix any kind of book or restore any kind of book, and also anything that's like cardboard or like box, archival box related kind of things like that. So it's a very like diverse job kind of thing.
It's more than just a publisher, correct?
Yeah, no, it's not a publishing house. It's really a bookbindery, but I do self-publish all my books, and I mean, now I bind them myself, stuff like that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned some of the books that you've been working on. I'm wondering if you could walk me through your creative process. How do you go from the initial concept to the finished page?
Okay, yeah. I've made 2 series of comics. One's Procan, one's Squid G. And Procan was really like, I was like 18 or 17 when I started that. And it was really like 1 page at a time. I didn't write anything beforehand. Kind of, I guess you could say for sure, inspired by like real life events, but it's about zombies and stuff, so it's like a bit exaggerated there, but just kind of let the story go where it wants to go, kind of thing, and be ready to like erase. I'm not afraid of the eraser, but I kind of try to keep it going too, and don't want to like be too much of a perfectionist, because I want to get that one. I really wanted it to be out there, because like the story was like really important to me, and I was just trying to pump it out to get it in the hands of people. Squidgy was a little bit the same. Started off like that. I just draw something. I had an idea. I went with it, see where it would take me. But and at the end, like Squidgy number 8, which is the last one, that one I really thought about it a bit more. But then again, I didn't ever like write anything down or didn't make like a storyboard. I just kind of had an idea in my head and tried to make it come out like the best possible, kind of thing.
Cool. I noticed looking at one of the video interviews that they did with you for this particular event that you are a traditional artist. I'm wondering what tools you use to create your art.
Well, for sure, pencil is number one, paper is number two, and I really use a lot of microns. I'm sure a lot of people listening know what that is. It's like a pen that's got different sizes. It's archival ink, and it's really good quality. But, I mean, I'm not against anything. Like, I use paint, I do oil paints, I sculpt. Watercolor, for the children's books, it's usually watercolor. I really like messing around with that. The only thing I don't really use a lot is, like, charcoal and stuff like that. But I have used it before, and I will probably again, but it's not really been, like, a main material in my comic book making, no.
So you're a multidisciplinary artist, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll take whatever I can get, and I'll mess around with whatever I can get my hands on, for sure.
Cool. Now, you mentioned a few of your works. I'm wondering do you have anything on the go right now that you can talk about, or future project?
So right now, I'm working on a new children's book. It's the fourth children's book that I'm going to self-publish. So the first one was English-French. Those are the languages I speak. Second one was English-French-Spanish because I thought those were three common languages. The third one was English-French Inuktitut, which is the language of Inuit people. I chose that because those were three languages of Quebec. And now I'm doing quadrilingual. It's my fourth book. It's going to be English, French, Hungarian, and Farsi.
Wow, that sounds like a challenge.
Yeah. And then it also has to do with people I know who can translate it for me. The only time I actually hired a professional translator was in Inuktitut. She was a lady from Kuujjuaq. The other people who translate my books, they're still very, very good in their language. They get it checked by, like, their friends and family, but they're not, like, that's not their job kind of thing, you know?
Yep.
And this one, it's about opossums. So the interesting thing with the opossums is that it's the only marsupial in North America. And opossums, they have them in southern Quebec and southern Ontario. So they've been moving up. Like 200 years ago, 100 years ago, for sure there was no opossums in Quebec. 50 years ago, I'm not sure. But now, in eastern townships, Montérégie region, even up to Montreal, there's opossums more and more.
Wow.
So the book's about opossums. I'm drawing links to a couple of things with this book. It's basically a story about an opossum who's heading north, and then there's a big flash flood. She's also pregnant. She gives birth, and then there's a flash flood. She jumps on a boat, and the boat ends up bringing her, like, into Canada, because you could say she was in northern United States at first when it started.
Mm-hmm.
So then she ends up in, like, this weird forest, and all the other animals there's, like, a deer, a squirrel, and, like, a cat and stuff, and they're like, who are you? What are you doing here? They're basically giving her a hard time. And then she kind of has a really bad winter, and, they have to end up figuring out a way to end up being her friend kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So without actually talking about it in the book, it's talking about a couple of, like, big things there. There's death, because the opossums play dead, and they also don't have a very long lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
In the wild, it's approximately 2 years, so that's involved in that somehow. It's talking about immigration. It's talking about refugees. It's talking about global warming. And already that's three big things for kids, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's really supposed to be for, like 7 and under, maybe a bit older, depending, too. Sometimes older people like these books because they are multilingual, if you want to learn another language, it's actually pretty good. And it's still, like, at least 70 pages. So.
Wow.
It's for a younger kid, like, my idea is that it's a book that they won't be able to read in one, like, sitting, and that hopefully they're parent will be reading it to them, and then hopefully they'll be like, okay, well then we have to go to bed now, and we'll finish this next time. It'll be something that the kids want to. They'll be looking forward to hearing the rest of the story. That's what I'm trying to go for. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you have any timetable as to when you might be publishing this book?
Well, it's self-published, so I don't have like deadlines and stuff. I create my own deadlines, but at the same time, I'm lenient with myself. It's coming out when it does, but trying to get it out, for hopefully before Christmas. If not, we'll put that to next year, but in a couple of months.
Oh, very good, very good.
Like I've been working on it during the COVID. I've been it's almost all drawn, and then I have all the translations. I have to set it up on InDesign, get it all nice, and then print it and bind it. So yeah,
very good. So where can people find out about the timing of this project and your other works? Where can they find you online?
Okay, online, the way to check me out would be, I have a website. It's www.procan.org. That's Procan, PRO-CAN.org. That's really like my personal website. For bookbinding, I have thebookbindersdaughter.com, and I'm also starting the new website for Le Relieur des Faubourgs, so that's the relieurdesfaubourgs.com. I mean, also on Instagram, it's my name, it's Keenan Polenchak. You can check that out. I'm always putting stuff up there. And Facebook is the same thing, it's my name, Keenan Polenchak. That's the way to check it out, yeah.
Cool. Well, Keenan, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering if there's something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview.
All I gotta say really is do what you love, and like if it is drawing that you love, that I understand that. Keep drawing. It's a lot of people I know who used to like drawing. I see them sometimes, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have time anymore." I mean, I got a busy life too. You gotta keep pumping it out. You gotta make time. And some people are like, "Oh, I don't want to draw, but I'm not good at it." I mean, I used to suck too. Just like. Just keep practicing. If you really want to do something, practice is the only way to go. And experiment for sure.
Thanks to Keenan for the chat. You can discover more about Keenan on Instagram at Keenan Polenchak. That's KeenanPolonCsak, and online at pro-can.org. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts, and please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at TrueNorthComics. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2020.